now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young. Good evening and welcome to tonight's show on PBN TV. We're also broadcasting out to some of our DJ channels, DJ and TV and such. So we're going to be talking to a lot of folks this evening about adding a specific photo booth. Now, this doesn't have to be the one we're looking at. We're going to be at the venue pad here from Atlanta Photo Booth. The device itself doesn't matter. The idea is behind tonight's show is having a device that you want to add to your wedding business. Whether you are a DJ, whether you're a photo booth operator, whether you're an uplighting person, whatever it is, adding one thing and looking at some of the different little things involved with making it a success to add it to your business. Sometimes we just see something really cool, like at Photo Booth Expo, photoboothexpo.com. We see something really kind of cool and we're like, oh yes, I need to add that to my services. And then when we get it, and then we start looking at it, we find out that this wasn't such a great idea because we are just not able to make money with it like we thought we could. So that's what tonight's show is all about. So I'm going to bounce over to, there we go. I want to bounce over to the PowerPoint and such. So the business plan idea, and I've done some shows on business plan, and you can look at those where I went kind of overall over everything. This is going to be just a quick little tutorial, what have you, that's something to keep in the back of your mind when you're thinking about adding something to your services. So that's what we're going to dig into. So first thing you need to do, there's going to be some questions that you need to ask yourself here. We're going to start the why the venue pad. I mentioned it earlier that this is just one I chose. There's a couple of reasons why I chose this particular one. And I guess the people at Atlanta Photo Booth are friends of mine. That's one of the big reasons why I chose their unit. But I wanted to go with something that was kind of the selfie thing because you have the quick setup. That was a big hot topic at Photo Booth Expo among users. Easy to use. That's another big thing. Digital props was big. A big discussion earlier, and now with this whole virus world coming about, and people are talking about that this might be, the digital props might be the future for at least a number of months, if not years, because people are concerned about it. And then, of course, printouts. Printouts are more things to mess around with. Some people love the printouts, and they can offer those, which gives them even a more additional opportunity to make some money. And some people just are not into the printouts. So that's why I chose the venue pad. And you can see it right down below, AtlantaPhotoBooth.com, the venue pad, and you can check it out there. So we're going to dig into it. But there's some questions we want to ask ourselves before we get going here. First off, is there an actual market for the device? We saw a lot of cool things at Photo Booth Expo. And as I was looking at these array of cameras and capturing the motion, and they throw things in the air and capturing all these different GIF type animations, the question really becomes is there a market in your market for that device? Some markets it'll be like, oh yes, people are used to spending money on a photo booth, so I need to up the game and get this really cool thing. Some markets aren't saturated with photo booths, so having something more basic would possibly work. If there's a lot of iPad type, selfie type booths in your market, maybe adding another one isn't going to be a great investment. So check it out, think about it. Is there a market before you just jump onto it because of the emotional side of it? And then, of course, can you make it work for your business? Is this something that you, as a solo operator, you're set up the uplights, you get that all done, and now can you set this up and walk away for after the evening and make it work? Or is it something that some people just don't like to have their gear left in a rental type situation or what have you? Maybe that won't work for you. Or you're a DJ and you're going to go and set it up and leave it unmanned. Can you make it work for your business? Do you have the time to go set it up? Some of us are on a very tight time schedule because they have an afternoon event and then they have an evening event. So we have a half an hour to set up. I can't set up all my gear, and that could be a limiting factor. So can you make it work with your business? Can you afford to add it to your business? There's a cash investment to buy these things. You don't want to be putting gear on credit cards and having to pay interest on this credit cards if you can at all avoid it. Yes, sometimes it makes sense financially to do that because it's a hot thing and you're going to be able to sell it boom, boom, boom and have it paid for in a month or two without a lot of interest accrued. But Most of us don't have that kind of luck. We buy something and it kind of sits and slowly ramps up to the numbers we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes. Can you afford to add it to the business basically by paying cash for it? So that way you've invested in this device and it will pay you back over the next several months. That makes sense. If you have to be taking out a loan for it, you have to add that into the process to really be able to see if it's something you can afford to do. And then, of course, the needs to run this. It's going to need staffing. It's going to need maintenance. It's going to need some programming or graphics work. Do you have that ability to handle the needs of this? Some people are great with uplighting and designing that side of it, but when it comes to computer graphics, they are lost. Well, that computer graphic to do overlays is part of the process to really make these things cool and unique. If you don't have that capability, that means I have to hire it, or you have to hire it. And if you have to hire it, that's more expense that I'm not even accounting for in this little tutorial video. These are things you have to be thinking about, because if you don't have the ability to handle what you need to run this additional thing, you're not going to get anywhere. And then, of course, the final one is, what is the cost to run this with your business, knowing that you maybe need to have a graphics person. You're going to have some additional costs, which we're going to cover, and then the staffing costs to that, and maybe transportation, because you can't, you're full, and you have to have somebody, or there's a lot of different variables with this, and you have to look at these honestly and objectively before you start. Take the emotion out of it, because we all love cool gear. I get that. Take that out and make a decision based on looking at the numbers and seeing if it's going to be profitable for your business before pulling the trigger. Continuing on, there's going to be some acquisition expenses. There we go. Geez, I'm not going to be able to say that. First off, the venue pad, I put together about a $2,500 budget. I have not checked exactly what the prices are, what the show prices are on that. I just went, it says it's starting at $1,500, and then it's like, well, I want the cool stand this. So I just threw out a number of $2,500. It could be less, it could be more. You could buy a different one and have a number. I needed a number to start with. So $2,500 is what I had put in there for the venue pad. Getting an iPad Pro, figuring that you can pick up a nice iPad Pro off the Apple Refurb or someplace like that for about $800. Software, there's a variety of different software out there for the iPad. I went with one that was very highly recommended that people were talking about, and it turned out to be about $30 a month. If you sign up for a year, you can get it cheaper from some of the companies, and there's some of them that you can pay by the event. But for this demonstration, I went with one that would cost $30 a month and projected it out. You should have business cards. I realize business cards are this old-fashioned thing, but it's amazing when I have the photo booth, the selfie booth set up, and then have a little table that has the props on it with that little thing with cards. I will have 10 to 12 cards, even though the graphics that they send to themselves have some different information on it. The cards still go. So you need to have some cards, and I just allocated $50 for that. Some artwork to design your logo and your business cards and such. A little bit of work to put up a website. Again, these are numbers that will probably be something that you would do for most of you, because you're kind of a hands-on world out there. So our total investment for the first year of this is going to be about $4,100. Then beyond that, really our biggest expense of this is, if say we can get 3 or 4 years out of the device, at least a couple of years, because I've got a couple of selfie booths that I've had now for, I think I'm going to be coming up to my 3rd wedding season, and I'm using the same iPads, so I haven't had to replace anything yet. So software is really about the only thing you would have for a hard expense to go beyond that particular time, which would be about $400 a year. But we're going to be basing all of our numbers off the first year, with the sad reality that we may have to replace this device every year. Even though they're designed to last a lot longer than that, you never know what happens when somebody falls on it, breaks it, or whatever, we drop it. So let's look at the event potential. If we have the ability to sell this, say we have a very active wedding business already, and we figure that we can sell this as an upsell to our wedding services that we do right now for about 40 nights a year, which in the upper Midwest of Minnesota, if we figure it out, you're very active with what you're doing, we get probably between high school and some school dances and weddings, there's a chance of being able to send it out 40 times. For a single operator, you may be looking at maybe closer to 20. But for a multi, if you have one and you could bounce it between a couple of shows, you could probably get it out about 40 times. Then you may pick up another 10 events somewhere, doing some other little side things, what have you. So roughly, and for this, we're going to look at the event of potential for this little demonstration of about 50 events per year. My goals in this business, in order to add it to what I would personally want to see, I'd want to be able to see a 10% return on this investment per month. The investment was at $4,100. I want to see basically 10% of that amount coming back to me each month that this unit is in service. I want to be able to pay staff approximately $150 a night with the different little things that are involved with it. I'm going to budget $200 a night because there might be some travel, there might be some taxes, what have you, depending upon how I'm paying them. So that's what I want to be able to do. I don't want to be paying someone $50 a night and then not have someone reliable. That I would rather pay them a little bit more to have somebody there. I also want to make, if I'm going to start this, my goal is to probably like have 3 or 4 down the road. And if I'm going to do this, I want to make a return on my money. This is Shark Tank world, gang. You need to be making a return on your investment. If you're not, you're being an idiot. So I want to make $10,000. That's not asking a ton to be able to make some money off my investment and the stress of this. $10,000 a year profit is peanuts for what this would be. But if I can somehow figure out how to make this one work and then add 3 or 4 more, hey, now I've got almost a full-time job income for most of the United States off my Selfie booth. So my goal for the first one is $10,000 to profit off that. So let's get to the math and let's get to the numbers. We've thrown all the numbers out there. Now let's kind of put them all together and get this going. So we're going to be doing roughly 50 shows a year, or about 4 a month. So I'm going to go with the 4 a month because that makes it a little bit easier for our math. I want that 10% return on investment, which would be about $410 a month, or because of the 4 shows, that's about $102.50 per show would be the amount I had to add to the charge to cover just the unit itself. Now I've got the labor, which is we're just going to allocate $200 from every show for labor. So now I'm up to $302.50 is what I need to charge to make those two, cover those two. Then I want my profit. I want my profit to be that $10,000. Divide that by 12 for a month. I need $833 from this in a month's time. If I have 4 shows, that comes out approximately to be $208. We add that all together. Come on, there we go. So our total cost as we sit with what I have here is that if I can book this 4 times a month at $510.50 minimum, I have now made this a profitable little business addition to my business. And 4 times a month, you start thinking, well, that's once a week. And if I get a week where I get lucky and I've got a Friday, Saturday, I might get 5 times. That's kind of, it starts adding up. Unfortunately, in the upper Midwest, or those of you down in Florida and such, you've got your seasons where they don't have weddings. We have the seasons up here. There's got to be this perfect place where they do weddings all year round, and I don't know where that is. It's not here. But if you can book it 50 sometimes at $510 a time, this would be a profitable little side business. Let's continue on. Let's say instead of charging $510, you went down to $500 per show. And you had, if you had 1 show a month, that would be a yearly income of $6,000. Again, I wanted to kind of give you some real numbers to start off with. So I'm charging $500, which is kind of somewhat of a going rate, maybe a little bit high for some of these. But if I'm only doing 1 show a month, I'm making $6,000 off that a year. My acquisition expense was $4,000. My labor for the year for those 12 shows would be roughly $2,400. So my profit off that show of only doing 1 a month for the first year is I'm losing $500 out of my pocket. That's after paying labor and figuring the acquisition costs of that. At the end of the year, I've in essence spent $500 to develop this business, and I have the gear. So I mean, it's not like you've thrown money away. It's just that maybe you could have done something better with that money instead of just doing that route. But let's look at another example here. Let's bump it up to $750 a show, if you can get that in your market. Only 1 show a month. Actually, I'm doing 10 shows a year for this particular example. You take your acquisition, your labor cost, which was a little high. It should have been 12 times $750. I didn't do my math right on this one. So this particular one, we would have been a little bit higher on the income. We would have been, we'd have been $1,500 higher. So that would have been $9,000. Well, our end of the year, instead of making $1,000 over expenses, we would have had $2,500 over expenses. So naughty slideshow there. So that one, my numbers are off because I didn't go times 12. I only went times 10. So I hope I didn't do that on all the rest of these, because these are all examples. So going back to the $500 a show, and if we're doing 2 shows a month, so 500, that's 1,000. Yeah. So this one, I'm back to it. So again, we're back at $500 a show. And now, but we just added a second show per month. So now our total income for the year is $12,000. Acquisition price is about the same. Our labor price for those 24 shows comes up to $4,800. Now my, in essence, profit for the year is $3,100. Now we're getting into probably closer to real numbers for a lot of us as photo booth owners and such. But let's continue. I want to give you more examples here. Let's say we can make and hit our target of 4 shows a month with our, and we're only charging $500. That gives us an income of $24,000. Acquisition costs, our labor costs, of course, bump up because there's more shows. But now there we've hit roughly our $10,000 right there for our business. So we can do that at $500 a show roughly if we are going out and selling it 4 times a month. But let's just say we like to be more aggressive than that. Let's say we want to go out and do it 8 times. We can get this thing out 8 times a month. We are in a market where we can do it Friday and Saturday. We can do it eight times. It's great, 48,000. Our acquisition, labor increases, of course. But now we've made almost half of a full-time income at $24,000 there. But we're not done yet. Let's drop the price down. Let's take it down to a $400, which may be for some markets a little more in line with what you guys are doing in the market. If we take that down to if we still are lucky and we can go and do the number of shows and such with that 8, and there's our numbers 38 come down, and we can still make money at $400, but we need the volume. This is the key: is that if you aren't getting the volume, you're not going to be able to make that money. If you can handle 8 shows, but there's more, there's obviously more risk involved with that. So things to think about. The numbers are there. You can go and kind of watch the video again, and you can kind of see where the numbers came from. Find your favorite addition. Put that in there. Find out what the costs are and put that together. This is just a rough way to do it quickly. And once you've gone through it a couple of times, you can do this in your head, and you'll be able to say, hey, you know what? I can make this work, or maybe you can't make it work, but at least it gives you a thought process to go through rather than to just go and emotionally buy something and find out that once you've got this really cool thing and you get it home and there's absolutely nothing it's doing besides collecting dust in your garage. So this is John Young here with PBN TV and DJN TV. Thank you for watching. Just want to do a quick little show to give you some idea on how to gauge that next addition to your company. Thanks for watching.